Hello everybody, Jared Bendis here. I'm the Creative New Media Officer for the Freedman Center for Digital Scholarship at the Kalamazoo Library here at Case Western Reserve University, and I would like to reintroduce to the Freedman Center slide and film scanning. Yay, this is a very exciting time. We've not had this since the pandemic, and I want to give you a quick, it's not going to be quick because there's a lot to go over to make slide and negative scanning work. So bear with me, we will make this work together. I will show you everything you need to know to be able to scan your 35mm slides and your 35mm negatives here at the Freedman Center. Now, like anything else in the Freedman Center, you need a key to use the computer. So go to the service desk and check out one of the keys, and the key goes into the monitor. You're going to be working on station number 14 because at the moment, that's where the slide scanner is. We may be getting a second one, but right now, station number 14, that's where you want to go. All right, good. Let's continue. To scan slides and negatives, you're going to need to use holders. This is the slide holder, and this is the negative holder, and they're going to be sitting in a tray on top of computer number 14. If they are missing or they are broken, please email us at Freedman Center KSL CWRU, and we will have them repaired and or replaced as quickly as we can. All right, so how do you load these? Well, to load them properly, you need to understand that film has two sides. There is the shiny side and the dull side. The dull side is the emulsion side, and that's the side that the scanner is going to see, and that's the side that's always facing downward. The scanner scans up, and the emulsion side goes down. So if I were to look at this slide right here, you would see that one side is shiny, and one side is dull. Now, there's a couple ways of telling if you can't just see which is shiny and which is dull. The side that says this side towards screen, that is the emulsion side, that is the dull side, and that is the side that goes downward. Or the side opposite it, the side that has the date or often has the writing of what's on the slide, that is the shiny side, and that goes up. Now, doesn't matter whether the slide looks like this or looks like this, it will always be loaded horizontally, and that's because the equipment is going to scan it horizontally. So don't load one this way and one this way. They all get loaded this way. Now, let's look at this. If you look over this, you're going to see there's an arrow in here. These items here look like they lift up. They do not. Do not try to pull up on these. They will break. These are actually spring-loaded, and what ends up happening is that if you were to take the slide, and you see there's an arrow there, and you were to slide it underneath, it would spring-load into place and go downward, and that's it. Pops into place. That is the extent of moving, is that little bit of spring-loadedness. Now, even if the image is this way, you always load it this way because you notice that's the way the opening is. So I slide it in here, and beautiful, pops into place. And I can load up to 4 at one time. There you go. So this is loaded and ready to go. Again, the part with the writing and the date is on top. On the bottom, you can't see it right now, but it says this side towards screen, or it's the dull side. Let me do this again, but this time we're going to do it with the negatives. Now, unlike the slides, the negatives do have moving parts, and the moving part is right over here. There's a little bit of a clamp here. One side has a hinge. There's a hinge on this side, and this side has a clamp. And yeah, it takes a good amount of work to pop it open. Actually, it takes more to pop it closed. Now, let's look at the film real fast. The film's almost always got a curl to it. This is a throwaway piece. We'll talk more about the safe handling of film in another moment. But right now, I'm just using my bare hands because it's a throwaway piece of film. Now, there's the shiny side and there's the dull side. If you look, film often has writing on it. And if the writing is the correct way, if you can see it and it's normal, like right now I see the word Kodak, which means that I'm looking at the top, I'm looking at the shiny side, because you're at the camera and you're seeing the bottom, you're seeing the dull side, the word Kodak is written backwards. So the backward side or the dull side is the bottom, that goes down. So let me open this up. Oof. And I open it up, have it bounce back. I'm gonna lay the film in here, and I can adjust it afterwards, so I'm not worried too much. I'm gonna bring it back down, and you can see how I'm gonna be able to slide this back and forth a little bit. But the real trick is right here, and I'm gonna have to snap it till it snaps. Snap together. And then again, I can slide this around a little bit. Now, with slides, it's easier because you can handle the outside. With negatives, if you handle negatives with your bare hands, you're liable to get fingerprints on the negatives, and you don't want to do that. So what kind of gloves should you wear if you wear any gloves? Nitrile gloves are the safest. It'll make it a little bit harder for your hands to feel what you're feeling, and you can buy them. We don't provide nitrile gloves. Do not wear leather gloves, do not wear gardening gloves, do not wear anything that's going to be big and bulky and also might transfer other oils or dirt onto it. Clean nitrile gloves. People often ask about cotton gloves. Cotton gloves exist in two categories. If they're really, really cheap cotton gloves, they'll actually shed all over the place. You don't want those. If they're very smooth cotton gloves, they can also work, but you got to be careful because these kind of have sharp edges and they can snag the cotton and you'll get stuff lint on them as well. Again, I've got it in here and you can see that I've adjusted it so that all of things are here. Now, if I look, you're gonna see, you can't see it here, but there's dust. And so I would recommend like a camel's hair brush to kind of brush it off, or even some spray air. Again, we can't provide all these accessories. If you're gonna be doing this, keeping your negatives and slides clean is really your business because we can't be cleaning your slides for you. All right, I've got my 35mm negatives ready to go and I've got my 35mm slides ready to go. And I'm sitting on station 14. I have the key, the computer's unlocked. Let's get to scanning. As always, when I start the computer up, I want to go to the D drive and I want to make a folder. I'm going to come over here and make a new folder, and I'm going to make it with my network ID, JEB2. That's my network ID. Whatever yours is, do yours instead. And that's where I'm going to save my files to. Never save your files to the desktop. Never save them to anywhere except the D drive with your case ID on it. That is the only safe place to leave your files, even temporarily, because if you save your files to the desktop, even if the computer reboots, everything will delete itself, and that would be bad. Oh, look, there's the scanner. Now the scanner's got an on-off button right here. It's already on, but I'll turn it off to show you. There it is off, and now there it is on. Don't worry about the buttons. We're not going to use the buttons at all. We are just going to use the scanner. We're going to slide it in here or in the other side. It's actually really, really easy because there's a notching system, as you're going to feel in a second. Now when I put this in, the moment I slide it in, you're going to feel it go click, click, so that's 2, click, that's 3. So the idea being is that you bring it in and you move it over, and there's that notch there, and you're gonna feel it go click, 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 and once you've got it in the notch, you know which one you're scanning. That's literally all you have to do on the scanner. Make sure it's turned on, and make sure that the scanner, the slide adapter is put into place and it's notched into place. Very, very easy. When we do the negatives, it's gonna work the exact same way. You can see the notches are on the bottom, so this is the way it's gonna be, and you're gonna slide it in 1, 2, 3, 4. Every one is gonna be done individually. Now, the bad news is that this takes time. The good news is the quality is amazing, but the bad news is this takes time, so you have to do each one individually. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show you how to do one slide, one negative, and that's it. We're just gonna scan them and save them. Post-production, that's a whole nother thing. Don't worry about post-production right now. Worry about getting the clean, high-res scan into the computer, putting them aside, and saving them for later. All right, now that we're all set up, I'm gonna double-click on Silverfast 8 on the desktop, and we're gonna walk through the settings. There aren't that many of them. You can get as complicated as you like in the software, but you don't need to if you use my default settings. I'm gonna click on Start, and we're gonna go through this step by step. All right, let's go through this step by step. First of all, it already knows it's transparency because it knows it's a transparent foam scanner. The only question we've got to ask is it a negative, a positive, or a Kodachrome? Now, we know it's a positive because it's a slide, and we know it's not a Kodachrome because it didn't say Kodachrome on it. If it says Kodachrome, not Ektachrome, Kodachrome is the only time you use the Kodachrome setting. So I say positive, great. Now, all these settings are default. It says it's called Untitled TIFF, the T drive at 7200 DPI, all this stuff I don't have to change. I mean, I could move it to my folder, but I don't need to. Let me scroll down to the bottom, and you're gonna come over here and see all this stuff. Again, don't have to do any of it if you don't want to. What I am gonna do is I'm gonna hit pre-scan. And what pre-scan is gonna do is it's gonna come over here, and it's gonna generate a preview of my slide. And it's good to do this because it's gonna learn a lot about the slide when it does it, and it's gonna take just a few seconds. It's worth the time to make sure you're on the right slide. And again, you can see here, it's taking less than 10 seconds to do a preview. Don't worry about the rotation, don't worry about anything else. It'll all take care of it in post. Also, I've set it up so it'll scan the maximum scanner size, so everything will be scanned, not a problem. Now, if I were to hit the scan button right now, I'm gonna come over here and hit the scan button, and we're gonna see how long it takes to scan at 7200 DPI. And the answer is, it's gonna take a few minutes. So right now, if I look over here, it says it's 249. I'm gonna wait until it says 250, and then I'm gonna hit the scan button. All right. So now it is scanning. Let's see how long it takes to scan at the highest resolution the scanner can possibly scan at. I'm gonna pause the video. All right, so it is now a little more than 4 minutes later, and I think we're gonna be at a full 5 minutes, which means that the maximum quality for this scanner, and that'll be whether it's slide or negative, it will take 5 minutes to scan a slide. And yep, it's done. I can hear it being done. It's quote unquote post-processing it right now. Basically, it's copying it to the drive. And if we look, we can see that it is finished. Little under 5 minutes for the highest quality scan that we can get. On the D drive, there it is. There it is. And you can see just how high quality this is. It's got the whole, and again, we'll post-process this later, but that's that. All right, so let's do it again, but for a negative. And again, relatively easy. Just pull this out. Make sure these are lined up the way you want. And then I'll just put one in somewhere over here. So it's in, it's nice and firm. Now I'm gonna come back over here and I'm gonna change it from positive to negative. Don't worry about the preview window, that's silly. I'm gonna click on pre-scan and you're gonna see that it's gonna come up relatively quickly. Again, it's gonna take about 10 or 15 seconds to do the preview, but it will preview it as a negative, so that means it'll actually be the proper way. So you can see that it's gonna do this preview, and then it should pop together nicely once it's done scan. Oh, this is it. It's been very, oh, there it goes, look at that. So it's some sort of a cake and it's upside down and it's really, really scratched up. Very little I can do about that except make sure it's nice and clean. Now we know that the next button would be to hit scan and it would take 5 minutes. But let's come over here and change this for a moment and maybe we can go a little faster. Let's see what happens if instead of doing 7200 DPI, I'm gonna try something, let's say like 6000 DPI. And I'm gonna call this Untitled 1. I'm just gonna be silly for a moment and hit scan. I will wait until it changes to 257 and then I'll hit scan and we'll time this one. All right, scan begin. Let's see how long it takes for 6000 DPI if it'll take less than 5 minutes. It still took 4 minutes, so not big difference in terms of time. So this file is 217 megabytes. This file is 152 megabytes. Whenever you're using the slide scanner, I recommend that you scan at 7200 DPI. It is the maximum resolution of the slide scanner. You will not get any better than it, so you don't want to have to scan anything twice. If it's a matter of saving a minute or two here or there, it just isn't worth it to save a minute or two now and have to go through the whole process again in the future. So you obviously want to budget your time accordingly. It's going to take 4 to 5 minutes per slide per negative. So when you sit down, just do the scans. Don't do the post-processing. We'll do other tutorials on interesting ways you can post-process. If you're a pro, yes, you can go through the settings. Yes, you can change the settings and you can do some really cool things now if you're a pro. Otherwise, leave it alone. Leave everything generic. Pick whether it's going to be negative or positive. Hit scan, save, rename, upload them to Google Drive, take them to go, and we'll go from there. Anyway, if you have any questions about how to use a slide scanner, or if anything is missing or broken, email us at Freedman Center KSL CWRU. We'll be happy to take care of it. My name is Jared Bendis, and happy scanning. Oh, wait a second, I forgot to try to undo it. So now, how do I get the slides out? Relatively easy. You come over here, you put your finger in here, push a little bit downward, because that's where the spring is, and the slides pop out. So you go downward, as in this way, and then it lifts up and the slides come out. Now you can take the slide holder and put it back in the container. Now with this one, it's a little bit trickier. Again, one side has the hinge, not this side. This side, you want to come over here and you want to push away till it pops open. Really easy. It pops open. It is one piece. And you do not have to snap this back into place. You just put it over here for later, and now you're good to go. There you go. Again, happy scanning.